In EVE Echoes, there are an ever-increasing number of implants available to us, and understanding the basics of how they work and which ones we should be investing into can sometimes present itself as a bit of a challenge to us. So in today's video, I'll be going through the full list of implants that are available to us today and covering the raw basics of each implant, that being their primary attributes, the ability that is unlocked at level 45, and how many neural compilers are needed to unlock that subscribe button. Hint, you don't really need any. So let's start this off with the first implant on the list, the Focused Crystal. The Focus Crystal applies to all laser turrets, and every consecutive hit stacks a charge. More charges equals more damage, and missing your target loses all of the charges, and therefore all of the bonus damage that you've managed to stack up. These charges can be consumed for temporary shields, and at level 45, we gain the ability to instantly gain 30 charges by pressing a button. Moving on to the second lasers implant is the Pulse Crystal. The Pulse Crystal again applies to all laser turrets and increases the damage of your lasers at the cost of more capacitor. Not only does it cost more capacitor, but the more capacitor you have on board your ship at the time that you activate your weapons, the more of a damage bonus you are going to get. And of course, at level 45, you gain the ability to convert some of your shields into more capacitor, which in turn means that you get more damage out of your weapons. So that's an interesting trade-off. Moving on, we have Barrage Repression. This applies to cannon turrets, and it reduces the range whilst boosting the firing speed of your cannons. And its effect is temporary and requires a recharge. And up at level 45, we gain the ability to reduce the enemy's flight velocity. Sounds cool, right? Next up, we have the High Power Coil. Coil. Wow, okay. I'm messing up words already. This applies to railguns and uses an attribute called Power. You'll see something like this a lot, whether it's charge, power, ammo, salvo. It's a form of ammo or consumable resource. Anyway, it uses power in this case to boost the railgun damage, and power is recharged with each shot or salvo. It is worth noting that every time you shoot with it active, you use more power than you are getting back from shooting. So the implant has to be deactivated for a number of salvos to fully recharge itself. And at level 45, it gains bonus power generation. Moving on, we have Thermal Circulation. Once again, this is another railgun implant, and every salvo generates heat whilst active. The damage increases when the heat level is above 70, and it slows greatly when the heat reaches 100. Of course, it resets at 0 heat. Disable this to allow the heat to cool off. At level 45, you gain the ability to get plus 50 heat from 0, allowing you to get that overheating bonus that much quicker. Sniping Technology. Once again, we're back to a cannons implant, and its levels are acquired whilst not firing, and once you spend those levels upon activation, you get more tracking speed for each level that was spent. And at level 45, you gain the ability to reduce the speed and inertia modifier for better manoeuvring at that point in time. Maybe you're trying to align away and warp off. Next up, we have Support Projection. This applies to missiles, and it switches between bonus range and reduced explosion radius, with both options coming at the cost of damage reduction, and level 45 combines both modes. Moving on to Warhead Charge, you'll see that we have much of the same. We have the bonus range and reduced explosion radius modes that we can choose between at the cost of damage reduction, with level 45 combining both modes. The difference between these implants are in their secondary abilities that are unlocked at level 15 and 30. Warhead Charge focuses on changing the damage type, whereas Support Protection has its own built-in electronic warfare options. Moving on, we have Bombard Tactics. This is an implant which is most commonly used for fighters, but it is also useful for drones as well. And it applies bonus damage to docked fighters and drones. The bonus damage reverts to normal after 5 shots, that is after they've been unlaunched and firing. And at level 45, they gain a temporary speed increase for drones and fighters. Remote Shields. This increases the Remote Shield Booster Restoration effect. Upon activation, capacitor consumption is reduced. And at level 45, for 30 seconds you get increased shield repair and capacitor usage. Remote Armor, the second logistics one. What we have here is the ability to increase the target's armor resistances, that is, the targets that you are actively repairing. Upon activation, the remote repairers also repair your own ship, that is the logistics ship that you are currently flying. At level 45, you get the ability to boost the target's resistance bonuses even further and increases the capacitor consumption. Automatic Defense. This applies to drones and fighters once again, and applies bonuses to unlaunched drones and fighters. The bonus applies for a chance for the target to lose all of its target locks. That's right, you can force your opponent to lose all of the targets that they've currently got locked up. And at level 45, upon activation, drones gain a warp disruption effect. Tactical Missiles. This, as you gathered by the title, applies to missiles, and upon activation, the damage of your missiles go up. However, explosion radius worsens, but a warp scramble effect of 2 is applied when you hit the target. And at level 45, upon activation, you gain a buff to your missile's activation time, explosion velocity, missile velocity, and flight time. Mining Enhancement. This applies to miners, strip miners, and salvagers, and upon activation, it boosts the mining yield, miner range, and salvager range, but it comes at the cost of halving your ship's flight velocity. And at level 45, you gain a boost to warp stability, inertia, slowdown resistance, and hull resistance bonuses. Artillery Cover. Once again, this applies to cannons, and it buffs cannon damage, slowing down the rate of fire in the process. Upon activation, it increases the tracking speed at a cost of 50% of the passive changes above. That is both a 50% reduction to the slowdown in rate of fire and the 50% reduction to the bonus damage. And at level 45, you guarantee a hit if the salvo misses. Granted, it will be a reduced amount of damage to what you're used to, but it is a guaranteed hit nonetheless. And last and not least, we have Aerospace Tactics. This is a drone implant, which increases drone damage, drone flight velocity, and reduces drone inertia modifier. Upon activation, it increases drone range, reduces flight velocity, and increases drone command range. This activation skill is perfect for sentry drones, whereas the other mode is perfect for drones that actually move around a fair bit. And for level 45, the drones gain different attributes when they take damage, of which you may toggle between. These are called Adaptive Determination and Desperate Determination. And that is a quick summary of all of the implants currently available to us in-game. If there's any implant that you want to hear detailed a little bit more vigorously, that of course I've not been able to cover properly in this video, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. It'd be interesting to know which implant you guys maybe have the most trouble understanding, or want to learn more about. But anyway, thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys in New Eden.